So I'm going to focus in now on counting, and I'm going to focus in on two kinds of counting. And this has been such a wow bomb for me. It's taken me a very long time to realize this. But subitizing is starting from birth, like I've said, and it's building up, and there's a lot to teach you about that if you want to know more, which we'll only do some of it tonight, of course. Remember, there's a whole house of information, and then we're just peeping through the door. But I've been wondering about, is there a way counting starts from birth as well? And I definitely know, and I'm going to show this to you in a little while, but I definitely know it's not counting to find out how many that starts from birth, because like I've shown you a little bit already, it's just far too complex. But we have got what we might call counting for ordinality. And counting for ordinality is this idea of understanding that numbers come in order. And you think about all the languages that you might speak and other people around you might speak, the idea that if we're counting in ones in English, when we've said one, we say two, then we say three, then we say four. And if you had digits and you had some missing, and we had a digit one, digit two, digit three, digit five, you'd be like, oh, the four's missing. That's not about how many. That is the rules of order. And it's a really important part of understanding number, because it's the number names and it's the rules of a system of order, which is really important. Whereas counting for cardinality is using number to find out how many. Whereas the best way to teach children numbered names, as in the digit names, and recognizing those digits and saying them in order, is through songs and action rhymes and stories that have lovely counting sequences in them. But I want you to think of those counting sequences as meaning much more to the children as an order rather than how many. And you may need a bit of time to think about this, but you also say these numbers in order when you're walking. So a lot of parents, when they're climbing the stairs with their children, will say number names. We kind of think about it as an adult, maybe about how many stairs we've climbed, but the child thinks about each stair having a name. So it's more nominal and ordinal for the child, and it's a great thing to do. You might be talking about, let's do this many steps. And I want us to separate in our mind that what the child is experiencing is the idea of giving each step a number name in order with a word. And these things are really important, but what they're not understanding is that that last number we say represents all of those steps they've taken so far. Okay, we're going to subitize this time. So subitizing will enable you to label that as one. Let's have another one. So I've called that one 1 and that one 1. Subitizing means you look at the whole amount. That whole amount's called 2, and it's made up of 1 and 1. Let's add another 1. So I've definitely called them all 1. That amount altogether is called 3. And of course, our children have to learn what it's called, but they do know that amount and that amount are not the same amount, because that's something our ancestors have known for millennia, and that's the brains that were passed down to us, as it were. So this whole amount's called 3, and inside the 3 is a 1 and a 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1, and it can use that 2 and a 1 or that 2 and a 1, it doesn't matter. And this one here, add another 1, we've got a 1 and a 1 and a 1 and a 1, it's called 4. It's a little bit difficult to see like that, so we use things like 5 frames to help us see it. We use some well-known patterns, but please don't go down the road of thinking that subitizing is to do with dice patterns. It's not. It's the idea that when you put something in a pattern, you can much more easily see it. Again, conversation for another time. So you could even start reasoning, for example, that that's 4 because you know there's a 2 and a 2 in 4, because we do what we call move it to prove it. Imagine that, use that pattern because it's easy for you to see. You see the 2 and the 2 in the 4? Move it to prove it. Can you see the 3 and the 1 in the 4? Move it to prove it. This is all the sorts of things we do. So all I've done there, if I go back, is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I think that sounds like counting to me, but I think the difference is that I understood that every time I added another one, I was labeling the whole amount. And I also think that I now understand when someone says to me, but how many 2s are in that 4? You'd go, well, 2, look, there and there. And if I said, if it was, let's make it a larger number again. how many 2s in 6? If you're only counting, you're going to think there's 1 2 in 6, because when you go 1 2 3 4 5 6, you say 2 once. Or if you see it on a number line, there's only one number 2. Whereas a subitizer would tell you, well, there's 3 2s in 6. And when they see it, for example, in a 10 frame, which is what I do a lot of training on, as many of you know, that's one of the patterns we use. And you can really see where the 2s are in that 6. And of course, you can see the 3s and so forth as well. Can you see there? 1 group of 6, 6 groups of 1, 2 groups of 3, and 3 groups of 2. Your early years children will be able to tell you all of that. Now, that is the factors of 6. Gelman and Galistel in 1978 looked at counting principles. And there are 5 main principles. And what I'm going to suggest, and I hope what I've done is proven to you, rather than tell you or try and convince you, if you do the activities that I've done there with your colleagues, or do it to yourself so you can feel this, you will see that all 5 of those principles can be achieved when you have great subitizing underpinning it. So subitizing is going to make counting make sense. It very clearly shows, I don't know how well you can see this, I've made it bigger on the next page. We've got quantity, number, and subitizing with a Z because it's American, and then we've got verbal and object counting after that. And I've made it a little bit bigger here. So just listen to that. So this is being advocated, and also this is where I learned my subitizing from originally, from Doug Clements. Julia Sarama is his wife. Was have a look at this one. This caused lots of people lots of stress in the summer with children learning number bonds. And I was always said the way to learn number bonds meaningfully is to use subitizing for your composition of number, comparison of number, 5 frames, 10 frames, and do it really practically. And here is the NCETM director absolutely actively promoting that.